Well, welcome, Colorado Proud members. My name is Barb Howe, and I do business development here at the Colorado Department of Agriculture. And I just want to welcome our guest, Kuvy Ax, and she is amazing. And we're going to talk today about preparing for trade shows. So, a little bit about Kuvy, and I'm going to pull up my note because I have some great stuff about her. And Kuvy is the founder and owner of Root. This is an award-winning PR, marketing, and social media agency that is dedicated to supporting good food from those who grow it to those who make, sell, and bring it to life. For over 25 years, Kuvy and her team have led communications for carefully curated mix of values, value-driven food and beverage companies, organizations, and events, working with both nationally recognized brands and Colorado companies with regional and national reach. Root specializes in the big picture strategy paired with deep category expertise across the natural, organic, and mission-led food space. This really means that Kuvy has spent decades helping brands show up powerfully and in the moment that matters most, including on the trade show floor. And that's really the focus of our webinar today. She's a frequent judge for New Hope Network's NEXTY Awards and a repeat speaker at the National Products Expo West and Expo East, including this year's Innovation in CPG Summit. She's also served as judge, mentor, and MC for New Hope's Press Pitch and Pitch Slam events, so she knows what gets attention and what gets passed by. Beyond her agency work, Kuvy has served on the Naturally Colorado Women in CPG Committee and the Colorado Department of Agriculture's Heritage and Agritourism Committee, and in leadership roles with Slow Food Boulder. I'm not going to say this properly. My French is terrible. Les Dames
D'Escoffier.
Escoffier and Pollination Planet. Well, Kuvy, welcome. And you've always helped us out so much on webinars, and they're so informational that we're really excited today about trade shows. And, how do we prepare for them and how do we then get maximum benefit from them?
Barb, thank you so much. I really appreciate that intro. And thanks again for having me on here again. Oh, it's always fun and interesting to do these webinars with you. So I really appreciate that. And I'm really glad to be here with this group because the Colorado food community is honestly one of the best there is. We're really fortunate to be here. And I think trade shows are underutilized by the Colorado food community. There's several big ones. There's several really cool ones that are either national happening in Colorado or that are Colorado focused. And, it can be a really powerful way to connect and build relationships and grow sales. So I'm really glad we're getting the chance to dive into that today. So I've been to dozens of trade shows in my 25 years of business. This is our 25-year anniversary this month. So we're celebrating that. But I've walked the floor, I've staffed booths, I've pitched the media, I've judged competitions, as you mentioned, I've emceed the Expo West Pitch Slam. And what I've seen over and over again is the businesses that get the most out of trade shows are rarely the ones with the biggest booths or the most money. They're the ones who are prepared. And so, yay, that's free. Let's talk about how to do that. So whether you're a Colorado Proud member or a Colorado Proud wannabe member that's walking your first show, or if you've been to a few shows and you want to improve, I really want to talk through today some easy tools to help you do that. So trade shows, are they worth your time? Why are they worth your time? If you're a small producer, a farmer, or a baker, a restaurant owner, you're really busy, right? Your time is your most precious resource. Are trade shows actually worth your time and your money? So here's some key things to think through when you're thinking about whether you should attend a trade show. Market intelligence. Here's an incredible way, and this is why so many Colorado Proud folks, start at the farmer's market because you can get some incredibly valuable market intelligence by standing there at the farmer's market and meeting people face to face and asking them about their their feelings about your product, right? So same thing for a trade show. Walking a showroom floor tells you what trends are emerging, what your competitors are doing, what the buyers are looking for. And of course, if you had a booth, it's just like being at the farmer's market. You get that face-to-face feedback right there in person. You cannot get that intelligence from a screen. And then relationships, you're in person. So this is an incredibly powerful time and way to build face-to-face relationships. There's nothing like meeting someone in person, right? Buyers and distributors and media and other producers. You get months of work, potentially work built into just 1 or 2 days. It's a turbocharged way to basically save yourself a lot of time. So you get visibility, whether you have a booth or whether you're walking the showroom floor and meeting people, being seen at the right events puts you on people's radar because they're there, they care about that. And so if you're there, it shows just automatically that you care about that, whatever the theme of the show is as well. And if you go consistently, that builds up trust over time, which is a great way to build relationships. Um, New wholesale and distribution accounts. When else are you going to meet these people? This might be your only chance to meet these people. They're here at this show, especially in Utopia now this summer. We'll talk about that more in a minute. But a single conversation at a trade show, bumping into one of these people in real life, IRL, can open a door that you may never have opened in any other way. Face-to-face relationships. So in a world of emails and DMs, sliding into someone's DMs, there's nothing like meeting someone in person. We already talked about this. Buyers, distributors, this compresses months of outreach into a single day and it builds community. So
Yeah.
Colorado, especially, our food community is tightly knit. Trade shows are where you find your people. That's my wrap up summary for that part. But I want to make sure that everyone keeps in mind that trade shows are not an overnight success story. You're not going to go to one trade show and then it's not like landing one hit in O magazine, right? You're not going to achieve everything with just one. The magic often happens in the follow-up or at the third show when you've actually built that relationship because you've now talked to them 3 times. So you need to think about trade shows as a long-term investment, an investment in relationships, not just a quick transaction. So you want to go with realistic goals. You want to make sure to take really good notes of what you learn and what you achieve there, who you meet. And then you want to make sure you follow up, and we'll talk about that too. So we'll get into all of this in deeper detail in a minute. So any questions so far, or should I keep going?
No, I just want to reiterate and reinforce really that in-person aspect.
Right.
We've gotten so used to doing business like this and via email that we kind of take it for granted how important it is to meet people. And the trade shows are a great way to do that. And it affords you that time to really start to get to know that person and their company. So great point.
That's right. Right. Yeah. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a trade show. Otherwise, you'd do a webinar or something, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So let's talk through. I mean, what I feel like Colorado proud folks may not know all the shows that are available to them. I feel like it's you and I, when we were preparing for this, we had to do a little research to
I
double
know.
check. Do we
Yeah.
know all the shows that people could even attend? So let's talk through a few. And folks, I am going to take the webinar from today, turn it into a blog. It's going to live on our website, which is rootmarketingpr.com. So just remember root marketing, root PR. You'll find it. We're based in Boulder, Colorado. But if you go to our blog page, at the top will be a blog that is going to list these shows that you can
Great.
attend. You can also check out our Instagram. We're going to do a couple of posts about this as well. So it'll be on there as well. Or, of course, my email is going to come at the end of this. You can reach out to me. You can ask Barb. But here, we're going to walk through a quick list of Colorado-based, but also national-based shows that are going to be in Colorado in the next year or so. So, Colorado, let's talk about Colorado and regional shows. So, we've got the Colorado Farm Show. That's in Greeley, that's in January. And that's a big one for farmers and ranchers. It's at Island Grove Regional Park in Greeley.
Yep.
It's one of the largest farm shows in the whole of the US. It's got more than 300 exhibitors, 30,000 visitors, 30 plus educational seminars. I mean, if you're a farmer or producer, you've got to go to this, farmer or rancher, you've got to go to the Colorado Farm Show. Um, so one for there's a so I don't know if everyone's heard of Slow Food. You probably have, but very quickly,
Right.
Slow Food is a national organization that has chapters, regional chapters. In Colorado, the big ones are Slow Food Boulder County for farmers and producers in this area, are Slow Food Boulder County, and then of course Slow Food Denver. So look into your local slow food chapter, wherever you're watching this from. Look into your local slow food chapter. Go to slowfoodusa.org and go to local chapters and check out what your local chapter is. But Slow Food Boulder County, Slow Food Denver have amazing events all year long, fantastic events that are a great way to build relationships, meet other people, get ideas, connect with your consumer, and on and on. It's just a great way to build community. Um, and then, of course, naturally, Colorado.
Yeah.
Boulder started the naturalies. So the naturalies are, I don't know if they call them the naturalies, but I like calling them the naturalies. The naturalies are these organizations that are community-based, that are membership community-based, that are all about promoting the natural products industry. So it's a great way to meet other like-minded companies. It's a great way to learn about educational opportunities. It's we started the first one here in Boulder as Naturally Boulder. It grew into Naturally Colorado. And then, of course, now there are naturalies all over the US. So the Naturally Colorado events are well worth looking into. For example, coming right up in about 9 days
Hmm.
is the Conscious Business Pitch Competition. So it's basically a pitch slam. And that is April 22nd at 4:30. Definitely check out naturallycolorado.org. Pretty sure. Let me double check that while I'm talking about it. But check out if you have not, yeah, naturallycolorado.org. If you haven't been to one of their events, definitely go and highly recommend a membership.
Hmm.
So, yeah, okay, now let's jump into national events that are happening in Colorado. So we're really lucky. We've got some big events coming that are going to be of interest to the Colorado Proud folks. The American Bakers Association. This is coming up in a week, not even a week. So, April 19, the American Bakers Association annual convention is happening in Colorado Springs. It's for bakers, it's right here in Colorado Springs, and it focuses on commercial and artisan baking executives. So, it's worth checking out if you produce a baked good. Newtopia Now. This is the big one that's coming up this summer. So Newtopia Now. So Expo West. You've heard of Natural Products Expo West. We talked about it a little bit already. So Expo West is the number one natural products expo in the world. They also had Expo East for many, many years, but they sunsetted it and they turned it into Newtopia Now. So Expo East used to happen in
Gotcha.
the East. Now it's happening in Denver. But we don't know if it's going to continue to happen in Denver. So 3 years ago, they switched to Newtopia Now. They've held it in Denver the last 2 years. And then this summer, they're definitely holding it in Denver. But like I said, we don't know if it's going to be in Denver next year. So you got to go this summer because it's right here. So Newtopia Now is the name of it. And it's at the Colorado Convention Center. It's focused on emerging and mission-driven brands. So it connects CPG, consumer packaged goods, CPG brands with buyers, retailers, and distributors and investors. Like they're all
Yeah.
there. It's really cool. It's thousands of people. If you're a small food producer and you have a packaged product, this is the show to attend. They've got lots of fun things that they offer to connect you with potential buyers or distributors or whoever are the folks you're looking for. There's a really fun grocery style market where you can walk around and taste test and grab samples quickly and easily in one spot instead of having to go to every single booth. They've got incredible education. The seminars are wonderful. There's all kinds of fun things going on. So definitely check that out. Let me look up the email address, the website address for that, Newtopia now. And it's I think it's early bird pricing right now, but it's not going to be forever. So definitely check that out. Okay. And then, of course, we've got, Specialty Food Association shows. We've got the Summer Fancy Food Show and the Winter Fancy Food Show. So if you make specialty food products, artisan jams or honey or baked goods or specialty coffee, etc., the Specialty Food Association shows, you probably know about this already. These are the big ones, right? That everybody knows about. So you probably already know about them, but if you don't, definitely take a look at that. And then next March, every March is Expo West. It's the granddaddy of them all. 80,000 plus people, 3,000 plus booths. It's at the Anaheim Convention Center. It's football fields of booths and people, and it's just
Wow.
absolutely. Barb, have you ever been?
I have not.
Oh, let's go. Let's
Yeah,
go
we
next
need to
month.
go.
That would be so fun.
Yeah.
It's mind-blowing. It's amazing. It's like so exciting every day, and then I come back with stacks of business cards. Like this is my follow-up pile. You can't really see because I have my blurring on, but
Yeah.
there's tons and tons of cards. Okay, so which show is right for you? If you're a farmer or rancher, you got to go to the Colorado Farm Show and go to the slow food events. If you're the type of person to have a farmer's market, if you're a vendor at a farmer's market, or if you're a small producer, jams and honeys and baked goods and things, the Naturally Colorado events, Newtopia Now, specialty food shows. And again, if you're a baker, don't forget to go to the what was it called officially? American Bakers Association
Yeah.
Annual Convention on April 19th. If you're a restaurant, of course, slow food events, restaurant association events. I just went to the Colorado Restaurant Show last week, Restaurant and Bar Show last week, which was great at the
Yep.
convention center, um, and various food service shows. And then if you're a growing packaged CPG brand, Naturally Colorado, Newtopia Now, Expo West. Honestly, everyone should go to Newtopia now. I really, I really
Sounds
mean.
fantastic. And it's in August this year, isn't it?
Yes, it's August 18 through 20.
Yeah.
So it's a Tuesday through Thursday.
No, I think that's wonderful. And even if you're thinking about getting into some of these avenues, these are great shows to consider going. Maybe they offer a 1 day pass.
Mm-hmm.
Look into that because maybe you're not there yet, but you
That's
kind of want to
right.
see what these folks are doing. It's a great way to meet, but also just kind of see how people are doing it.
That's such a good point, Barb. This is attending a show is a great way to dip your toe
Mhm.
in and see if maybe you might want a booth later on.
Right?
Okay, so let's talk about how to prepare. So if you, a lot of these tips are for if you're just walking the showroom floor, but a lot of them are also for if you have a booth. So preparation is essential. The big thing to do is to set some clear goals. So a lot of people will sign up for a trade show and then just kind of go, right? Like, oh, it's today, I'm going to that show, and they haven't really thought it through. But
Yep.
if you really want to get your money's worth and you really want to
Yep.
get your time's worth, if you really want to just maximize this opportunity, spending a few minutes to prepare and setting your clear goals and the researching who's going to be there and things like that are going to change your experience. So let's start from the top, setting clear goals. So why are you going? Really think that through. Like, what do you really want to get out of this show? Don't just go and walk around because you're just going to get caught up in a tide of people and all the pretty things and all the, oh, squirrel, right? And you might not get what you actually want out of the show. So are you there to meet distributors? Are you there to learn from the seminars? Are you there to check up on your competitors and get some ideas? Are you there to meet a co-packer? Like, don't don't just feel vaguely while you're there, but to actually write down some measurable goals so that you can then plan your experience around those goals. And then great news, especially for a big show like Newtopia Now, you can find out in advance who's going to be there, which means you can plan your experience, your event, with those people specifically in mind. I'm going to go and I'm going to meet this person. Oh, look, yeah, and this is a great way to do it, is to look at the seminars, see who's speaking at which seminar, and then you know where those big wigs are going to be, right? So if you definitely want to meet so and so and they're speaking at an event, you can go and you can walk up afterwards and talk to them and make that connection because you know they'll be right there. So yeah, most shows publish their exhibitor lists in advance, and again, their seminars, educational, and networking opportunities in advance, so you can make a hit list. And then another great thing is, especially for the big shows, they have these fancy apps, and you can schedule meetings in advance using the apps. One really cool tip that I learned recently is scheduling meetings early in the day can be a great way to get someone before the craziness of the day hits, right?
Very
Because if
good
you
point.
yeah, if you schedule a meeting for like, well, we'll see you at 2 o'clock at the cafe at the expo, by then people may have gotten derailed and the
Right.
meeting gets canceled. But if you start that meeting, if you have a meeting first thing, it can be a great way to make sure that you get that meeting. Don't forget to register early. Like I said, Newtopia Now has got their early bird pricing right now. Um, and then let's talk about business cards. So it's such a weird world right now. Everyone is using every form of communication possible.
Yes, yes, yes. It's very interesting.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and funny story, as if it wasn't already complicated enough with business cards and all the different apps and all the different ways to connect. Um, I actually I was at Expo West a couple last month, and a friend of mine was there who's a big techie guy, and he showed me how to use Claude and it was easy. You literally just tell Claude, "Hey Claude, produce a QR code so that when someone scans the QR code on my phone,
Mhm.
it makes their phone send me a text." So literally that's what I told Claude. Create a
Crazy.
QR code that
Yeah,
someone can
yeah.
scan that makes their phone send me a text. So at Expo West, someone would just take a picture of my QR code and then their text would pop up that would say, "Hi, Kuvy, nice to meet you at Expo West." And then they could just press send. Now, it didn't put their name in, so they still had to say, "This is from so and so."
Sure.
Then after Expo West, I had a bunch of texts that where I had that person's cell phone number, which is kind of nice. You may not want their cell phone number though. So you can also have them make sure to put their website address on it or whatever you need. But there's so many ways. So what I tend to do is this is simultaneously smart and a little bit old-fashioned, but it's
Yep.
it's the only way I found that is a catch-all for how people are communicating is I just use the Notes app in my phone. So I walk around with my note and I say, so and so's name is, follow up with so and so, their email address is blah, blah, blah. And then I dictate it into the note, right? And so then it says their email, their website, and what we just talked about. And then 1 or 2 weeks later, I have it right there. We talked about such and such. They gave me a sample of blah, blah, blah. They want blah, blah, blah. And then their email address is right there in my note, and I don't have to fish around from a million different sources.
That's really an interesting way to use Notes, the app on our phones. I hadn't even thought about that, but what a great way to stay on top of it because it's
Mhm,
hard enough as you're meeting all of these people.
mhm.
Trade shows can be crazy,
Yeah.
fun but crazy. And but what a great way just to talk and then it's done. And you don't have to carry a notebook. You don't have to worry about, where did I set it down? Where did I leave it or something? What a great way. That's a great idea.
Yeah, the trick is as soon as you walk away from that
Yep.
person, you step aside and you dictate into your phone.
Yes.
So you have to do it because the times
I,
when I've said, "Oh, I'll remember." No,
no, we don't.
no.
Yes, we don't. So,
And also, If there's some reason why you want to take a photo of something, like they have a flyer, you don't want to carry around a bunch of flyers or whatever, you can literally just take, you can use in your note, you can take a photo and it inserts. So it'll say, talk to Jane. She gave me a taste of her blah
Sure.
blah, wants me to follow up in a week. Click, take a photo of her flyer, and it's right there in the note. So
Great.
if anyone knows anything better than this crazy system, awesome, but it does capture everything in a way. And then guess what I did this time after Expo West? I actually uploaded my notes to Claude, and Claude helped me write my follow-up emails.
See, these are good uses of AI, in my opinion. It's like these
Yeah.
are the things that bog us down after trade shows, after big meetings.
Hmm.
This is where it can free up your valuable time. And
Hmm.
I love that because, we all think AI is here. It's here. It's not just coming, it's
Hmm.
here. But that's a great way. That frees up
Hmm.
your time to focus on really important stuff, not where did I write that down? Wait a second. Did I follow up with so and so? That's a
Hmm.
fantastic use of it.
And to be honest, it still took a long time to follow up with
Yes.
my 35 people.
Yes.
But because, but it was less time than it would have been. So
Yes.
what I did is I uploaded my notes and then I said, okay, let's work on this one. And then Claude went and looked at news that they have. And then Claude can't get into LinkedIn. So I went to LinkedIn and then took a couple of posts and gave it to Claude and said, okay, here's their news. And sometimes Claude was able to find stuff that I didn't know. And so then we can incorporate that into my email, right? So that I can say, I see that you,
Yeah.
right? But so much easier than doing all that from scratch.
Very
So
good point.
got off on
Because
a
you
tangent with that.
you've still got a lot of business cards though, right?
Still,
I'm
I
just
still
always
got a lot of business
curious.
cards.
Yeah, I'm just curious too about how people are viewing business cards these days,
Hmm.
because a QR code is great. I love this use where you can just zap,
Hmm.
you get a text or like share contacts.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was just kind of curious.
I think the key is, though, not to have stuff in a bunch of different places. So
Yeah,
I got the business cards, but I shouldn't have. What I should have done is every single time someone offered me a card, I should have just taken a photo in my notes file so that it was always in just one long note with business card photos inserted.
that's a smart idea. Keep it all together
And
because,
then
boy, piecing it
then you don't have
together.
this chaos, right?
Yeah,
I mean, this is crazy.
I know.
So
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, I kind of like business cards. I'm in marketing, so there's something about I
yeah,
don't know. But anyway, I'll get there. I'll get there. Okay, let's talk about what to wear. What
yeah,
do you wear?
definitely.
What do you take to a trade show, especially if you're having to stay overnight? The number one thing, which people forget, is the shoes.
Yeah,
You've got to wear comfortable shoes. Luckily in Colorado, we're kind of known for wearing Birkenstocks or whatever, right?
yeah.
But comfortable shoes are
Mhm.
absolutely key. Scrap the heels. You will be in pain because you're going to be doing a lot of walking at these trade shows, a lot of standing at booths and walking around. Um, you could walk 5 to 10 miles at some of these big shows. So, when I go to Expo West, I wear comfortable shoes at the beginning of the day and I have a second pair in my bag. So I can switch shoes midway because that can
Yes,
help. That can really help. Okay. And also this, most people know this, but let's just bring it up quickly. Make sure you dress to represent your brand, right? I mean, you don't need a uniform, but if you grow lavender honey and you're hoping to meet a buyer, like wear a pretty branded blouse or shirt or apron,
right.
to tell your story. It helps you stand out. Layers. These convention centers can be freezing, right? It's like 100 degrees
Yes,
outside, and you go inside and you're instantly freezing. So don't forget to I always bring a cardigan. Every outfit that I create for my expos, my trade shows, is an outfit that looks okay with with a sweater, with a
yes.
cardigan. Practical bag. You will pick up samples and catalogs and swag. Now, the good news that
Mhm.
most shows will have the free tote bags, and they want you to take one because they're usually branded by a title sponsor or whatever. And when you go to Expo West, there are thousands of these tote bags to choose from. So usually I just pick my fate, like the cutest one, and that's the one I wear for the
Right.
day. So what I tend to do is when I leave the hotel room in the morning, I bring my stuff in a small bag that can be put into a bigger tote bag. And then when I get to the show, I get one of the free totes either at the doorway or from one of the booths. And then I put my little bag inside the big bag. So you're going
Hmm.
to end up being a bag lady. You're going to have it works out that you end up with a
Right.
bunch of bags. But you need it for all the samples and all the goodies you're going to be picking up. All right, how do you plan for your day? Or how do you plan more specifically for what you're going to be doing? Map the floor before you go. So
Yes.
awesome that these shows will have those exhibitors, an exhibitor map, and you can figure out your game plan for where you're going to go. Don't just get there and wander around aimlessly because you will get distracted. If you have a goal that you want to achieve, make sure that you plan to achieve it by planning out where you're going to go. Um, Even if that's just identifying a few must-see booths. Getting there early is great because it just goes more slowly as more people, right? You
Yes.
know what I mean? Like you can be like, oh, I really have to talk to the person at that booth, and then you're four people back waiting to get to the booth. And so it's really nice to almost like get in and get out, right? So starting early is a great way to accomplish, to get things accomplished right off the bat. Taking breaks. Okay, this is huge. This is almost as important as shoes.
Yes.
Schedule your breaks. Do not let the day happen to you where you are suddenly absolutely exhausted. You haven't eaten, you don't know where you're going to find food. The only food you can find is some crappy hot dog at some stand or something, right? Like
Right.
plan out your food breaks and get outside. You do not want to be inside these convention halls the whole
Yes.
day. You'll go nutty.
Get
So
some
it's
sunshine, some fresh air,
fine.
carry
Yeah.
a snack.
That's it. That's it. I mean, honestly, the ideal is, I mean, I am a little hardcore because I've been to so many trade shows, but I figure out where I can get a really good salad.
Yep.
And then I either grab one on my way into the floor with a fork, with a plastic fork, or I go and get that salad at lunch because you're eating weird food, these samples, right? You're eating a bunch of like granola, and then you're having
Right.
like mushroom gel, and then you're having like, I don't know.
Right.
So, making sure that you have the anchor of a good lunch with protein
Yep.
and vegetables is key. And also liquids. Um, Take a water bottle. Like you don't
Yep.
want to have to be constantly finding a water fountain. At Expo West, lots and lots of booths give away free water, so that's nice. But not all the shows have
Right.
that sort of sample. Okay, so those are some sort of planning logistics. Let's talk about networking and
Yeah.
how to actually connect with people and get what you really want out of this, which is to start to build relationships. So it's obviously different than a cocktail party, right? It's a little more structured. People are there to do business and they're like in a little
Yeah.
bit of a hurry, right? So I've led a couple of seminars on how, and with you actually, Barb, we did one a
Yeah.
couple of years ago, how to network. And so I always harp on the same thing, but the reason I harp on it is because it's really true.
Hmm.
The number one thing to keep in mind is what can you offer the person you're talking to? Yes, we have our goals for why we're there. We want to achieve whatever. We want to meet this buyer. We want to sell this person, whatever. But the real way to do that is to start to build a relationship, which
Right.
is both sides, right? Which is what's in it for me, but also what can I offer you? That's a relationship. It's balanced. So keeping in mind as you're talking to that person what their goals are and what they might be looking for, and be looking for ways that you can add value or bring value to them is an awesome way to actually turn this into something that might grow over time and achieve your goals. So you're not going to walk up and say, buy this thing, right? You're going to walk up and get
Yep.
to know them, see what you can offer. that then you can then develop into something where they end up becoming a friend or they end up
Yeah.
liking you enough to want to buy something from you. So that's the number one thing is what's in it for them? What can I offer to them? So the way to do that is asking questions. You
Mhm.
want to start right off by leading with curiosity. What brings you to the show this year? What are you hoping to achieve at the show this year? How long have you been working at this company? People love talking about themselves and it might give you
That's right.
a little tip of how to get in with them, right? Um, okay, now here's another thing that I love to talk about. My team hears all the time and all of my clients, but it's really our superpower, and that is key messaging. Key messaging is figuring out what makes you special and the best way to say that as fast as you can so that you can
Mhm.
impress upon other people who you are, what you offer, and why they should care. So your key messaging is five or six key things about your product that is different than anyone else, that sets you apart from your competitors. What makes you special? Why does someone buy from you? What do you offer that they can't get elsewhere? So figuring out your key messages and getting that drilled down into a 30 seconds, basically like an elevator pitch,
Mhm.
is huge because that's what they're when you meet someone, that's what they're looking for. When they're listening to you, when they first meet you, they want to know what's in it for me? What do you do? Why
Right.
should I care? What do you offer that I might care about? And so if you can say that to them quickly, then you can get them, then they can connect with you, right? It's
That's
like
right.
you're looking for
That's right.
this, you're looking for this, bink, but you got to do it fast and you got to be concise and it has to be powerful. So I actually at Expo West just now, I actually led a whole hour-long session on how to put together your key messages for the show. And I will include a section on that in the blog that we're going to post about this so that people
Excellent.
can learn a bit more about how to do that. Because that could be a whole other webinar. And maybe we should do it.
We should. Yeah.
But yeah, key messaging, really important. So this is something to do before you go to the show. Figure out
Yes.
what are your key messages so that you can quickly and easily convey those when you're meeting people at the show. And then this is one more fun tip that I personally really like. Um, how do you get out of a conversation that you stuck in? Because this is key to your success. You cannot spend all day being
No.
polite.
No.
You could spend an hour talking to someone and be like, "Oh my gosh,
Right.
I got to move on. Like this, there's nothing in this for me." So knowing how to politely get out of a conversation you're stuck in is a great way, is also a really good tip. So what I like to do is it's very clear that this conversation, needs to be wrapped up, is I like to say, "Well, it was great talking to you. Maybe I'll see you later." Just that sentence. It was great talking to you. Lets them
Yes.
know I'm wrapping up and I'm moving on now.
Yep.
It's simple as that. It was great talking to you. Maybe I'll see you later. See you later. See you around. Something like that. It's a polite, easy way. It sounds so, yeah. I feel like when I say it, that it's so obvious that maybe people are thinking, well, yeah, but actually, I think it's an underused sentence. It was great talking to you. Maybe I'll see you later.
They may not know how to get out of the conversation either. And it gives them a beautifully mastered, respectful way to get maybe to other people at their booth or whatever, right? Because it works both ways.
Exactly. Although I'm sure no one ever feels that way talking to me.
No,
Uh,
they would not. However, maybe
yeah,
they need to go have lunch or
that's
you need to
true.
go have lunch because
That's right.
you've been up all you're tired, you've been
100%.
traveling, and
No, no,
it's just a
absolutely.
very respectful professional way. Well, it's been really great talking to you. i'll
Yeah,
I'll see you
yeah,
later. Maybe I'll see
yeah.
you later.
That's it. Exactly. I
So,
love that. Okay. And then I've got some notes here for this webinar, and my last note for this one is be yourself. And
yeah.
so that's a good point. Like, don't I'm giving you all this like stuff to do and things to think about, but the truth is, really, be your genuinely warm self. Be interested. You don't have to be polished. You don't have to memorize your key messages and say them word for word like a robot. You just have to prepare this so that then when you're actually in the situation, you can say it in a way that's natural. But just being kind, being warm, that's the best way to start a relationship, right?
Well, it is, and show yourself the same grace you're going to show them and other people because you're all in the same boat. As many trade shows as I've been to, we're all tired. We've all been traveling to it or preparing for it. Show yourself that same grace that you're going to show them. And just like I love it, be yourself. That's who they want to meet anyway. And if your product, that's who you are. You're going to speak about it well, you're going to present it well, and nobody else can do it like you can.
Oh my gosh, that's so well put. I'm going to add that to my for future webinars that everyone's in the same boat.
Yep.
Like it's not an us against them, right? We're all just like standing in a sea of people
Yep.
trying to find the thing we're looking for, right?
Yep.
So yeah, having that sort of almost make it can almost be like a joke, like holy moly, like you know.
It is a
Um
lot. And not everybody, even if they come across like they're comfortable in 10,000 people, most people are not. So it's okay if you feel uncomfortable. It's okay that you're overwhelmed. They are too, most likely.
that's right. All right. And then, like we just talked about, following up, right? What
Mhm.
do you do afterwards? So there's lots, there's no magic number of exactly how many days later to follow up. One thing I like to do, if I remember, is when we're going through the process of them giving me their card and me taking a photo of their card or whatever. Hey, okay, if I follow up in a couple of weeks, or would you rather I follow up in 3 or 4 weeks? Like asking them when do they want to follow up, and then add that when you leave your little note, like wants to follow up in 3 weeks.
Right.
Um, you know, you don't want to send it in the first couple of the next couple of days
No.
because they are going to be just as swamped as you are when they get
Yes.
back so at least give it at least a week. I honestly give it 2 to 3. So, and it depends. If someone says, "Oh my gosh, we need this right now," then
Right.
obviously you'll do it more quickly. But
No, that's good
um,
advice. They're coming off that trade show as tired and as busy as you are. They're
yeah,
not going to see your email or
that's
get your
right.
voicemail. Mm.
Yeah. But one cool thing that I've learned over the years is you can send them a LinkedIn request right away.
Yep.
So I actually recommend that within the first few days, they get a LinkedIn from you because then you stay fresh, top of mind, right? They see your photo, they've just seen you.
Right.
And then 2 weeks later, when they get your email, then they can actually respond to it. But that LinkedIn request is a nice little way to keep them warm. When you do send that follow-up, make sure to reference something that might help them remember who you are. Thanks so much for the such and such. As I mentioned, I love blah blah because my grandma blah blah. Something that
Right.
might give them a little hook to remember you by. And then, of course, you want to make sure that email has a clear CTA, a clear call to action, right? So, I'd love to grab 20 minutes of your time next week. And
Right.
can we find 20 minutes to meet? I like that 20-minute thing because it makes it sound like there's no way they could say no. And
Right.
technically, you could
Right.
have a 20-minute call to then figure out the bigger plan for later. So, something like that. Okay. So yeah, you've done your follow-up. Let's talk through a little bit about having a booth. This is a much bigger conversation, and this has a lot more. Like you can have the booth can be very expensive. If
True.
you do this at Expo West, it's a really big deal, right? If you have a booth at a farmer's market, it's a much smaller. Like there's a
Right.
wide variety of costs and effort that can be involved. But having a booth can be an amazing tool to meet people. They know exactly where you are, so they can come and find you. You have that dedicated time. If they walk up to you, you know they're interested in talking to you, so you're not having to do the work of starting the conversation. Like having a booth can be you've got your samples right there, so they can take your samples instead of you walking around trying to like maybe give out samples. I mean, it's
Right.
having a booth is incredible, but it's a big deal, right? So you've got your booth fees, the travel costs, the shipping costs, the samples cost, the printed materials cost. So you really want to make sure you're smart about it. So definitely start off small. Don't immediately get a booth at Expo West. You can look into opportunities to share a booth or a tabletop space or cooperative pavilion. Naturally, Colorado and state or ag organizations sometimes subsidize booth fees for Colorado producers. I know last summer there was a was the Colorado Proud Pavilion, right? Where we had some Colorado Proud members having a
That's
booth.
right.
So that's a great way to start and to like dip your toe in, get your feet wet on something like this. Again, prioritizing with the local shows first before you do a really big national one. And then one more thing to keep in mind is just, yes, it's important to have goals,
Hmm.
but your goals aren't going to be, you may not achieve the goal the first time you have a show, you do a show, have a booth,
Exactly.
go to a show.
Yeah, be
This
realistic.
yeah, yeah. Especially if your goals are relationship building. Relationship building
Right.
takes time to build. So
Hmm.
you really need to do a few shows before you should expect to have full success. Um, so booth design and engagement. Let's talk about booth design a little bit. First of all, don't forget when you're standing there and you've got your booth all set up, don't forget to take pictures for your social media person so that they can post this on social and so that later you can look back and see what you did. But yeah, when you're designing that booth, you want to make sure to be designing for interaction. So you want to make it as user-friendly as possible for someone to walk up to see it, to see who you are. Barb, you would not believe how many booths I see where you're trying to figure out who the company is. You
Yes.
standing
Yes.
there looking at the booth and you're like, is that? And the only thing you've got is maybe the sign from the like from New Hope that's got their
Right.
name, but it's
Yeah.
actually like the umbrella company name. It's not even so you're like, who is this? Do not do that.
No,
Make it
no. Don't
really
don't make it
clear.
hard on people. Yeah, I'm with you.
Ugh, and that means putting it up behind you. If you only have your table, say what your company name is, and you've got people surrounding your table, when someone walks by, they can't see that. So
Right.
I just want to reiterate that because that drives me crazy. It's such a missed opportunity. Um, so yeah, interaction. So the best booths aren't just a display. They invite people to do something. They invite people to interact in some way. There's something that gets people to want to taste your product, to watch a demo, to spin a wheel, to take a photo. The more interactive, the more memorable. Again, with the approachable, don't block the front of your booth with a table, create a flow. So you got to be thinking through this kind of thing. And then who doesn't love hot food at a trade show, right? You're eating so many like bites of this and nibbles of that cold thing that having something substantial, especially something healthy, can really draw people in.
Definitely.
So it's more work, obviously, but having hot food at events can get the right person and come stop by. And then, really sort of thinking big picture, like think about where your booth is going to be at the show. Where are people going to be coming from as they walk by? Where are they going to stand? Where will you stand so that you can stop people as they walk by and without being pushy? Like thinking through those sorts of things can be really helpful too. Um, and then also don't stand behind your booth all day. Like we said, get out there, like engage with people as they walk by, but make sure you go and take those lunch breaks and get outside as well. Okay, working with your team. How do you make sure that your team is on board and that everyone is rowing in the same direction? So, this is where I get to harp on about the key messages again. Make sure that your team also knows your key messages. Put those together in advance, send them out to everybody, and maybe have a meeting where you practice the key messages with everyone, practice those elevator pitches. The last thing you want is someone at your booth not saying, explaining what your company does correctly. That's really important. And a quick note is that as you do the show, you will refine it a little bit because you'll find better ways to explain what you're trying to explain. Write that down after the show. Like that is gold. You have just figured out the best way, the questions that people ask you, and the best way to answer their questions and the best way to explain what you offer. Write down what you figured out so that you have that for the next time. That's
That's
huge.
great.
Yeah.
That's great.
And then just think through like who's gonna say what. And don't forget that you're gonna have this person is gonna switch out with this other person at the break, right? So
Right.
you got to keep that in mind. But who's going to be pitching? Who's going to be handling samples? Who's going to be making sure to take the notes on the contacts? That kind of thing. And then just a last note, stay positive. It's
That's right.
tricky, especially if you get someone who irritates you or something goes wrong. You got to recover quickly because people can tell when you're
That's
frazzled.
right.
Yeah. So high energy, you got to stay high energy. Just that's just the way it is. And then just take a 3 day break afterwards, right?
That's
Just take a 3 day beach vacation afterwards. But these things are, they'll take it out of you, I'll tell
They'll
you.
take it out of you. And I love your point about make sure your booth is covered, but give people breaks.
That's right. That's
They
right.
need that time to refresh, even if they go outside, walk around the block, or go get a cold soda pop somewhere. They need to get away from it because again, it's overwhelming.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't underestimate how exhausting this is for
That's
you
right.
and your team. Okay, so when you are getting ready, when you're packing, when you're getting ready for your booth, this is actually the case whether it's a booth or not. It's mostly for a booth, but bring everything. Just think through every freaking detail that you can of what you might need and bring it all.
Yeah,
There's nothing worse than being there and being like, oh my gosh, we forgot packing tape or
right.
scissors or whatever that is. Um, don't forget your product, of
Yeah,
course. Don't forget extras of your product. Don't forget table covers and signage and banners and scissors and tape and zip ties, paper towels, hand wipes. Like I love to bring those, the packages of the
hmm,
hand wipes.
yep,
Those are, I mean, how many times you're going to be, working with something dirty and wish you could just wipe your hands off. Trash bags. Quite often they will give you a bin with a trash bag, but
hmm,
if it fills up quickly because you're popular, plan for success. You're
right.
popular, your bin is full. What are you going to do? Just bring some trash bags. Don't forget those extra comfortable shoes. Snacks and water for your team. We talked about that. And then, a great idea is to have some kind of fun collection bowl for business cards. So
Yeah,
something pretty that's on brand that looks good at your table, a place to put those business cards. And then I want to talk about this idea. So this kind of in fact, let's get into the what should you give out at your booth?
yeah,
Because what I've learned is that the number one thing to give out isn't the cleverest or the most expensive, although those things are great. And actually,
right,
I
right.
will say that at Expo West, Mudwater had these really high-end milk frothers, the kind that you put in your
Yeah,
coffee.
hmm,
Yeah,
definitely.
but like really high-end, like better than the milk frother I already had at home. But they would only give it to you if you stood there right there and posted on your Instagram and showed
Nice.
them that you had posted them on Instagram.
Very good idea.
Right, right. But my point with that, shoot, what was my point with that? Oh, is that you don't necessarily need a high-end expensive
Right,
giveaway like that. What
right,
you do need is something that summarizes who your company is, what you offer, in a way that is big enough to be able to do a good job. So what I mean by that is a postcard sized one pager. So let me see if I have, yeah, like this.
hmm,
This one piece is big enough to be able to say everything. So if all you do is expect that someone is going to get everything they need to know about your company on a business card, there's not enough room, right? You need something a
That's right.
bit bigger than that. So this kind of thing is really helpful because when they get home and they're going through their stuff, they can actually skim through and get your key messages from this piece. So that is the number one thing. It's not clever, it's not expensive, it's not jazzy, but it actually does the trick that you're trying to do, which is convey who you are. So that's one of my top tips.
That's a great idea.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
It's a very, very useful tip. And
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be expensive. I
right.
think that's
No,
the thing is it doesn't have to cost you an arm and a leg. But it needs to be meaningful and it better be informative.
that's right. And obviously make sure your website's on there, but a QR code that they can just zap
Yep.
and pull up
Right.
is helpful too. And then, there's a lot more. We could get into key messages in detail, but I'm going to make sure to cover that in the blog. And we have
Yep.
done that seminar on that before. So I'm not going to get into that so much right now. Is there anything else, Barb, that you think that should be covered or that you'd like to talk about for folks?
No, I think you covered everything fantastic. And, we got about 15-ish minutes left. And I think, maybe a good top recap of your really well laid out and your thought process on how to prepare and be ready. But maybe just, your top, here you go,
Yeah.
because it does come up fast. And once you do one trade show, you'll feel a lot better the next one.
Yeah.
You'll feel a lot more prepared. But here, you've got such a really, really well thought out process. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so many good tips in there. Like just trying to think
prepare,
which ones am I
prepare.
gonna
I think
well yeah,
preparation. I mean, I don't
yeah,
know. I just everything you said about, mapping out the floor, know why you're going, know what you're going to say. And again, even if you're not having a booth, you're going for a reason. Know what that reason is. Know what you're going to say to people because there's
that's
people
right.
you want to meet that can really help you, maybe take you to the next level. Um, and do a little
Yeah.
research on who you're meeting, right? Like when you walk up to a booth or if you've made a purpose of wanting to meet somebody, hey, I really want to connect with Kuvy at Root Marketing, know something about her and her company.
Yep.
So at least you can,
Yes.
hey, Kuvy, I saw
Wow,
your
you're good,
last
Barb.
blog. Kuvy, I saw your last blog on trade show preparation and it really spoke to me. Things
Yes,
like that.
yes. Yeah, yeah, fantastic. Um, Honestly, top tips. Shoes, taking breaks. Like you have to look
Perfect.
after yourself. Put your own oxygen mask on first. Otherwise, you can't do a good job
That's
connecting
right.
with other
That's right.
people. And then keeping in mind that it's relationship building, not that you're like gonna achieve a goal today, right? You're starting the process. You're meeting that person, you're finding out a little bit more about them. Um, so what can you do to have them want to be in a relationship with you, start a relationship with you? So taking an interest in them, making it easy for them to understand what you offer by creating those key messages, making sure you do a good job of following up afterwards. So waiting
Yes.
a couple of like do the LinkedIn a few days later, but then send that email a couple of weeks later. And maybe send them one more a couple of weeks after that, because what if you got lost in their inbox? There's no harm in it, right? But I
That's right.
wouldn't send more than two. Um, Being clear on what your ask is, that's really important. Hey, I'd love to grab 20 minutes with you next week, something like that. Yeah, those are probably my tippy top tips.
Those are perfect. And all the other information that you've offered is fantastic. And again, you mentioned you're going to be putting this into a blog. So where
Yep.
can they find that? Just so we've got that at the
Yes. So our blogs are on a page called Food for Thought. So basically you'll go to Root Marketing PR. So there's no and. It's rootmarketingpr.com. And then you will click on tips and news. So the hamburger is the home, gives you the list of our
Hmm.
choices. Tips and news is the food for thought page. Sorry, there's a lot of names here. I need to actually should probably fix that. But once you're on the tips and news page, that's our food for thought page, which is our blog page. And right now at the top, you'll find Trend Spotting at Expo West 2026. So that's a blog that we worked with Julie Zoggers to write that was all about the trends that we saw. So if you didn't get to go to Expo West last month,
Hmm.
this is a really good read for the trends that we saw. You'll also see AI in 2026, what natural brands need to know for PR, which talks about how to use AI, how to have AI help you with your marketing. And then we've got blogs on things like how to apply for an award and why you should apply for awards and how to, if you get an
That's
award,
right.
how to use to help your business. And then we've got another blog, how to make the most out of Expo West, that covers a lot of what we're talking about right now. A blog called Why Trade Shows Still Matter for Natural Products Brands. Again, a lot of what we're talking about right now. And then back in January, we wrote one that was called Ways to Eat Local Wherever You Are, Even in the Winter, which was all about, which was really for consumers, that was talking about how to get, and it talks about Colorado Proud in there. How do you eat local in the winter?
Right.
How do you track down those? How do you store the food? How do you find the local food? And on and on. So there's a lot of great content on that Food for Thought page, which is called Tips and News, apparently.
Yes, and I put that into the chat. So
Oh,
hopefully when people, they can refer to that. And certainly don't hesitate to reach out to yourself. Hello at rootmarketingpr.com, or
or
feel free.
Kuvy Ax, which then you'd have to know how to spell Kuvy, Kuvy, Kuvy Ax.
And I think that's great. And I mean, you're always do such a good job, Kuvy. You're a pleasure to talk to and a wealth
That
of
was so fun.
information. And
Thanks.
your presentation is so clear and provides actionable things we can all learn from. And
Thank
again,
you.
be nice to yourself and be nice to others,
Yeah.
because this
Yep.
industry, we're all humans.
Yep.
We all are just trying to figure it out. And trade shows are wonderful, but they're tiring.
Mm-hmm.
For years I did them, and yeah, I needed a week after to kind of decompress, right? And just
Yeah.
breathe again, because
Yeah.
it's a lot.
Yeah. How do we get the benefits of a trade show without the complete exhaustion from a
Yeah.
trade show? Yeah.
But you offer good ideas, and I think so much of it is take care of yourself and your
Hmm.
team, but encourage them to do self-care as well. And that looks like sleeping well, eating well, drinking
Hmm.
enough
Hmm.
water. I sound like,
Yep.
a mother, I'm sure, but those are all critical
Yeah.
things so you can engage with the people that you're meeting in your best possible way.
That's it. Oh, thanks, Barb. I really appreciate you. And thanks everybody at Colorado
Yeah.
Proud. Don't hesitate to reach out with any marketing related questions.
Yeah, and thank you. And we will get this webinar posted on ag.colorado.gov under Colorado Proud on our YouTube page. We'll also share it with Kuvy so she can send it out to her contacts. And I just want to thank everybody for tuning in and for also downloading this webinar. And like I said, if you have any questions, reach out to us at the Colorado Department of Agriculture or reach out to Kuvy.
Awesome. Thanks, Barb.
Thank you.